Carry
All right, we're on.
Good evening and welcome to Sunday night court session. Oh, man, let's start that again.
Back up.
To the Warrenton Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Thursday, July, or it's actually going to be Tuesday, July the 9th, 2024. Appreciate everyone for being here. First order of business will be our only public hearing tonight, and that's the TGL2 Planned Unit Development -003. Mr. Burks? Or
Actually, it's just anybody from the public if they want to
okay,
speak.
just say you got to remind me here. Anyone in the public that'd like to speak at this time? I don't recognize this guy. Good evening. Can you state your name for the record?
For the record, Bart Corman, Lewis and Beatty Surveyors and Engineers. Also have Brian Scheidegger with TGL Properties LLC, the applicant for the PUD. This is right there across from Corey Park, behind the old Orschelns, the old Kroger, for that. So pretty simple multifamily. It is on less than 3 acres, so we'll have to get board approval for that in the PUD process. But I'm here to answer any questions that anybody may have throughout the process.
Do they have to go with a PUD, or is there another way of doing it?
So for multifamily in the city of Warrenton right now, there's no alternative route other than a PUD. I know you guys are working on duplex and triplex, quadplex stuff, but that still hasn't been the code yet. So the PUD is the only option right now for multifamily.
We'll bring up any other questions that we have in the open meeting. So does anyone else would like to speak? You state your name for the record and we'll be able to address you.
Brian Scheidegger's. So,
Thank you. We'll have any questions, we'll address you. Anyone else here to speak on behalf of the public hearing TGL2 PUD? Hearing none, we'll close our public hearings for this evening and open up our regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning, and we'll do that from the minutes from the June 6th, 2024 P&Z meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 6th, 2024 meeting as submitted.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Costello, second by Mr. Cooper to approve the minutes as submitted. Any other questions? Roll call vote.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum is absent. Mr. Barton?
Yeah, abstain. I was absent.
Mr. Durbin?
yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Dieterman is absent. Mr. Cornell is absent. Mrs. Cullum?
Yes.
And Ms. Madden?
Yes.
Passes 6-0 with 1 abstention and 3 absent. We'll have time for any public comments. Hearing none, we'll move on down to our first order of business, will be the Hampton Inn Site Plan -176. Mr. Burks?
Bart Carmen of Lewis and Beatty Surveying and Engineering LLC on behalf of SAMP Hospitality LLC is request to review and approve the approval of a proposed site plan to build a 14,769 square feet Hampton Inn on the 2-acre parcel of land west of Market Street and on the south side of Veterans Memorial Parkway. The site plan shows the construction of a 4-story, 80-room hotel building and associated improvements to the site. The subject site is Zone C3 Highway Commercial District and is surrounded by properties of the same zoning classification. This project, the original Hampton Inn, was approved in March of 2024. The only difference between that site plan and this one is the original site plan was for 3 stories and this one's for 4 stories. Everything else is the same. Okay. Staff has reviewed the proposed conditional, or the site plan. The proposal is consistent with Chapter 405 Regulations of Warrenton Municipal Code. All items and notices have been provided and completed as required by state and local law. That's all I have, sir. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't think so. Mr. Corbin?
Bart Corman, for the record, I'm here. Basically, yeah, it's making it a 4-story and going through the process to make it in compliance with the code. Pretty much the same setup. We did tweak a little bit of the parking and stuff, and just last week, the owners of this lot here did close on the lot south of there, so we got the parking agreement obviously taken care of by purchasing the property instead of working out an agreement, so.
Was there any condition from the last one? I was trying to find it.
No, I don't believe there was.
No, okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Corbin? Mr. Burks? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to recommend approval of the Hampton Inn site plan SP 176 as submitted.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Mr. Costello, second by Ms. Madden, to approve the Hampton Inn site plan SP-176 as submitted. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Ms. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Cullum?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 with 3 absent. Moving on to our next order of business would be the TGL 2 subdivision preliminary and final plat SUB-124.
The TGL Properties LLC has submitted an application for a preliminary/record plat for a 4.96 acre area of land on the east side of Highway 47, north of Walton Street. Preliminary plat application is to divide the current commercial lot and create a new planned unit development, PUD, for multifamily housing, along with a record plat. The subject site is Zone C2 General Commercial District. Preliminary plat is the first step in subdividing a property. The plan shows a preliminary design of 2 lots. Lot 1 is 3.68 acres, where the current shopping center is located. And lot number 2 is 1.29 acres and will be the location for the proposed planned unit development. The site plan shows easements, requirements to provide municipal service to the lot in the future. The record plat is the final step in the process subdividing the property. Once the plan is approved and recorded, the proposed lot configuration will be finalized. The final record plat has been submitted with the preliminary plat as permitted by 410.210, letter C of the city code. Staff has reviewed the preliminary and final record plat and found the proposals consistent with Chapter 405 zoning regulation of Warrenton Municipal Code. All items and notices have been provided and completed as state and local laws require.
Can you bring us up to date? Is this the property where we had approved before to put those garage thing looking ordeals?
Yes, it is. It's
Same property, right?
behind the shopping center there.
And that all fell through. Is this a different owner?
The same.
Same owner?
Same owner.
Okay, but we just changed from that plan to this new plan. Cool.
Wait, is this going to be a rezone from commercial to residential?
Not a rezone. Well, we're subdividing the,
Or you're subdividing it? And is there any rezoning? No.
well, the proposed PUD would be a rezone to a PUD. So any zoning that we have now, if you decide to build a PUD on it, it's part of the PUD process. It's rezoned to a PUD.
Which is next on our agenda. It's just, we're on the subdivision part first, so.
Okay.
So I have
Go
a
ahead.
question regarding it's a 2-step process, the subdivision part 1 and the PUD part 2. Does the fact that the subdivision request shows a preliminary and final plat as conceived place upon us an obligation to approve the PUD just based on the fact that we might approve the subdivision?
Now, the question for the preliminary and final plat approval is whether the proposed subdivision of the property complies with the current zoning and the current code requirements. Then they're seeking a rezoning, as Mr. Burke said, next on the agenda. And so that's a separate question, whether that rezoning is appropriate on the subdivided parcel, assuming that that parcel gets subdivided.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Right, I just wanted to make sure that
Wasn't put in court before the horse.
making a recommendation on one didn't necessarily imply an obligation on any other questions.
Right, and it does not.
Okay.
Good question. And good explanation. Mr. Corman, you had something?
No, yeah, we could divide this regardless, but
Right.
the key to dividing it is so that later on, the PUD would only be for this lot and not subject to the shopping center and everything else. And that's why we have to go through this process, because otherwise, we'd have to do a PUD for everything as a mixed use, which is fine, but then that means everything at that whole shopping center comes up subject to that. And if you change tenants and stuff like that, it gets to be a complicated mess in that scenario. So this is the cleaner way to do things.
So we're subdividing it in Lot 1 and Lot 2 is what the purpose is?
That is correct,
And is
yes.
are both lots owned by the same?
Yes, yeah, because it's one piece of property right now.
So I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
all
I'm
owned.
just making sure everyone understands that.
Lot 1 is the one that has the commercial entity on it right now?
That is correct, yeah. Lot 1 has the shopping center that used to have the Orchlands and the
Okay.
Kroger. Now it's got the Overstock and the pet store, which I think the pet store just came through a couple months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Starting to see a little life, hopefully.
Yeah, I found the lines. Not this
Alright.
one, it's on the different.
Anybody else having questions at this time? If not, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to recommend approval of the TGL2 subdivision 124 as proposed.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Costello, second by Ms. Cullum to approve the TGL 2 subdivision preliminary and final plat SUB-124 as submitted. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Ms. Cheryl Cullum?
Yes.
Ms. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 with 3 absent. Next order of business will be the TGL 2 PUD-003. Ms. Burks?
TGL Properties LLC has applied for a planned unit development PUD to develop a 1.29 acre parcel of vacant land on the east side of Highway 47 north of Walton Street. The PUD is a request to allow for 4 residential buildings, 2 4-unit and 2 2-unit buildings for a total of 12 units. The future land use plan designate the subject site as corridor commercial. The site is currently developed for commercial use, and the southern portion of the site is undeveloped. The subject site is currently zoned C2 General Commercial, and the proposal seeks to establish a PUD on the property to allow 12 residential units to be constructed in 4 buildings. The purpose of the PUD is to allow for a variety of uses to establish on a single tract of land of at least 3 acres. The majority of the site is currently developed for commercial purpose, and the proposal would allow residential use to be incorporated onto the 1.29 acre parcel. In my report, I listed 8 items under the summary, the deficiencies in the report for the project. The main one is the insufficient site size. Our code requires a 3 acre minimum right now for a PUD, and the full site size for this project is 1.29 acres. If you want me to go through all 8 items, they're listed on the
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, if you, yes, please.
Yeah, please.
So the first one is insufficient site size. The proposed site size for the PUD is 1.29 acres. However, the section 405.125 of the Plan Unit Development Regulation requires a minimum site size of 3 acres. The discrepancy in size renders the proposal non-compliant with the basic requirements for the PUD. And 2 is a lack of detail on the ownership plan. The applicant has not submitted a detailed plan ownership, which is crucial for understanding how the property will be maintained over the lifetime. The plan must be included as part of the site specific to ensure proper management and upkeep of the PUD. Now, I did receive a lease today from the applicant, so that would take care of the ownership and the ownership transfer requirements. It was not attached to the report. So number 5, the integration issue between residential and commercial use. The proposal inclusion of the residential use onto the commercial property has not been well integrated. There are anticipation of conflict between the land use, particularly where the residential portion of the property would directly abut to the loading area of the commercial property. No mitigation features have been included in the proposal to reduce or eliminate these concerns, leading to a potential conflict and issues for the residents. The proposed PUD does not meet the intent of the PUD standards set forth in the city code. The proposal of the PUD is to allow for flexible development standards and innovative designs, but the current proposal falls short of these objectives. The proposal PUD is not consistent with the City of Warrenton comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan serves as a guide for future growth and development, ensuring the project aligns with the city long-term vision and goals. The proposal fails to align with these guidelines. And the last one was the additional fire hydrant is proposed and required to comply with fire code requirements on the project.
Thank you, sir. Open the floor up for questions.
I'm just curious because so part of what we discussed in our workshop, and we have like a comprehensive plan, we try to keep commercial so that we can bring, businesses, reserving those spots for businesses, and then, turning them into residential, basically eliminates that. And based off of these analysis, this doesn't meet really the PUD requirements, minimum size and other things in here. So I'm just really curious, why even convert this to a residential?
Well, we've been in commercial real estate for over 50 years in Warren County alone. We have roughly about 200,000 square foot now with vacancies in front of this building and most of our other buildings, not a lot, but some. So, and we don't, the amount of work we've done in St. Charles County and other places, we found stuff like this would be very useful for the city of Warrenton. It's close to downtown, walking distance to schools and churches. And other than doing something like this, we're not going to build anything behind there. We don't want to, we went through the metal building, and as a family, we decided that's not what we want behind our commercial unit anyways. We feel this is a good location for families moving into Warrenton. They're close to downtown, close to schools, and close to church, so.
So on the number 5, integration issues between residential and commercial, how would you propose to resolve that?
Well, the good news is since we own both of them, we will have a first-hand look at it. Second of all, there is a fence there now, and if so, moving forward, you guys would require like a white privacy fence or something along those lines, we'd be more than willing to put one in there. I know it doesn't address the building on the far end there, but we just recently spent over about $65,000 rehabbing it, so hopefully they will get along, but along the backside, we've been willing to put in a privacy fence if that would help.
And also on that, if you guys know the property well, there's quite a bit of utilities and power lines and stuff, which kind of creates a natural divide there. And that's where this line is going, is right through there.
Natural
so.
divide and also safety issue for little kids.
That's what I was thinking, was
it's-
safety
it's-
issues.
It's really, if it's residential, you can assume there's gonna be family potentially, and I don't see how that could be safe.
And especially with it being quite a bit less than the, like.
PUD regulation requirement.
Right. 1.29 versus 3 is a bit of difference in my brain.
Right, but if I'm not mistaken, and the code does allow for less than 3, provided that it's approved by the city council, so, but we gotta go from here to there before we can get to that point. And nobody's done it yet, so
Right.
Right, and
So,
but.
who knows
and
how
then
that's gonna happen.
Well, the other
but-
thing is non-compliance, right? Number 6, non-compliance with PUD standards. I believe we set those standards because of, one, the safety factor of it, and just for the, being able to account for all the what-ifs. Clearly, it's non-compliant. If we start to create exceptions, where does it stop? We're just gonna start to compound those exceptions.
Right.
We're gonna take a precedence that we may not be able to reverse later on.
And I understand that, but there is, in Warrenton, with the city code as it sits today, there is no way, other than this exception of the 3 acres, you still have to go through the PUD for a duplex and a quadplex, because there is no allowance in code to do it otherwise. So this is our only path with the code that exists now. So it's, like I say, it's got to get to the city council to allow that allowance on the acreage, but that's the only pathway right now.
My recollection is that we saw a similar proposal prior to that
Right.
commercial unit development that you're abandoning now. But that we saw a similar proposal. I don't recall what the total number of living units were. My recollection is at the time that we took that up, the P&Z recommended denying that, and I believe that the Board of Aldermen then agreed to, or denied the request. I don't believe it was the PUD at that time. I think it was possibly just the addition. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me like it was just the addition of residential units on the parcel, not subdivided, just all part of that. And the objections at the time that I recall are, number one, whether it's, family living units, or whether it's, a couple or an individual. I mean, at 624 square feet, 2 bedrooms, with no outdoor recreation space, and any of the other things that go along with that, I'm not convinced that it's suitable for family living at all. But our objections, my recollection, are that given that we have elementary and middle school right around the corner, and the amount of traffic in and out with buses and drop-offs and pickups and foot traffic with students and things of that nature, that was an insurmountable obstacle, as I recall, in the prior discussion. And regardless of the 3-acre, the PUD exception to do less than a 3-acre development, I don't see how this development differs very much from the consideration that we ultimately chose not to move forward on a few years back. So I guess it's not a question, it's just, for those of you that might not have been part of the P&Z, but at that time, it just didn't seem to clear the hurdles that we felt like it needed to clear, given the other surrounding pre-existing commercial and institutional and other exposures there.
Honestly, I don't know how to do my proposal is not to approve this, but I don't know how to do the motion thing for.
Well, I think we established last month that
have to do
we
it affirmative.
can make a motion to deny the request.
Okay.
Can I ask another question?
Go ahead.
though? So you were talking, that little building at the very end, is that a part of your process? I know it's not a part of this project, but is that owned by the same?
Part of it, yes.
Yeah, that entire,
Rehabbing?
that entire block is
Oh, okay.
one piece of property right now.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
So, and so some differences from several years ago when we did the first one is Orson's was still there. And so the east portion was not part of the first plan. But obviously
Oh, I
since
see.
then, obviously way less commercial was going. And that's, so the application was withdrawn before it actually hit city council voting. Then we went with the metal building strategy, but then obviously commercial market has changed quite a bit, and so now we're back at this. But it has been a couple years, but it's very, very similar setup for what was presented a few years back.
Yeah. Always does.
That's what I thought, yeah.
So whatever the recommendation of the P and Z is, Board of Aldermen would take it up
Right,
for their own consideration.
yeah.
Anybody else have any questions at this time about the project itself?
Is there anything I could do or design that would make you guys more comfortable?
I think it's the issue of the being residential, really. It's just, part of it is the safety factor, and then secondly, with the inconsistency with the, our comprehensive plan, right? There's a vision, that's why we created that comprehensive plan, and so misalignment to that, how much more misalignment can we get, right? It's really more the type of, the detailed analysis. There are several, points in here that doesn't align with all the things that we've established as a city, and for me, really, a lot of it is the safety factor for residential use.
And if you look at the comprehensive plan, the line is right now is at East Walton, if I'm not mistaken. We're looking at 25% of that parcel. When you do comprehensive plans, most of the time you take in the entire parcel. So we are not taking the entire 5 acres and converting it into residential. So please take that under
Still missing the
consideration.
amenities. The reason we have the 3 acre was for, being for the citizens, right? Being able to have these amenities and everything. But to answer the question, that was my purview, unless anybody else have a different purview.
I mean, almost even if you cut, the 2-unit buildings on the side, it would at least give them a little bit more room, the ones in the middle, and you could kind of just give everybody a little bit more room. I don't know. Just looks awful squished to me.
Part of the desirable thing here is you have a park across the
Sure.
across the street. So there's public amenities right there that they'll be using. So, I mean, that's part of the desire of doing it here.
Yeah.
Well, I can only share my thoughts on it. I mean, the shopping center is 50+ years old. And prior to its construction, it was part of the old college campus. That's long before I ever set foot in Warrenton. But since we moved here in 1976, it's been that shopping center. It's been mostly occupied, and obviously the economic conditions are different for retail than they used to be. And I understand, residential property, I think, at this point in time is easier to find occupants for, in my opinion, than some commercial exposures. Particularly if you're talking about an older commercial structure that there's some cost to refixturing and making it attractive to businesses, and I get all that, and I don't I don't want to ever discourage a property owner from, trying to find ways to add value to their property. For me personally, the obstacle still exists with residential where what is still an existing retail facility. If another anchor tenant could be found that had to have tractor trailers coming in and out, access to the rear of the existing commercial building is an absolute must. And while there's a cross-access easement there and all those things, it still doesn't overcome, in my estimation, the issues with proximity to the school, the foot traffic, and, the fact that 624 square foot, 2-bedroom units, I don't know how you market that. It's in some ways similar to the question about tiny houses. There are plenty of people that would like to have a tiny house in the city of Warrenton, but the city of Warrenton code doesn't allow it, and I think there are reasons for that. And similarly, I think when we're talking about residential, tenant-occupied residential, which I think these would be, when you're talking about small square footage, tenant-occupied residential, at least from my perspective, it has to be a very narrow target audience. Typically, I think of, designated senior housing as about the only thing that really appropriately mixes into something of this nature. And my belief is redeveloping the entire property has some future potential. I would think that as much real estate as you've been involved with over the course of your family's careers, there are times when the property has kind of reached its natural conclusion for what it's useful as, and it's redeveloped into something else, like the Scheidegger Center, compared to what it was when we were growing up there in St. Charles. So, for me, I just have a hard time seeing a dense, small square footage residential being a good fit here.
Can I ask a question, or?
Yes, sir.
I can't address the safety issue because I don't know how to do that, but to address their smaller sizes, if we would take the 2 buildings off, could we go up to the 2nd floor and make them, instead of, what are they, 600, go to some bigger units?
3-bedroom units or something.
Yeah, go, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, something like that, where it would be 8 and 8, something like that. That way it would also give some extra green space on the corners here or something like that. That would address, hopefully, maybe some of the safety concerns from here and some of your size concerns here. And I don't know, I'm just kind of, I don't know if this is even the right place to do it, but while I'm here, I might as well ask a question.
Well, bigger square footage is going to lead to more pillows and more bedrooms, and I feel like the more people we pack in, the less attractive it is. To me, this second bite at the apple is still kind of trying to hammer that square peg through the round hole, because of the fact that our 3-acre minimum for PUD is, those rules exist, I think, in part to try and prevent these one-off kind of ill-fitting adaptations of smaller parcels for the purpose. And again, I'm not here to criticize the fact that you want to make your property useful and attractive. I just simply think that our charge as a P&Z is to assess how it changes the neighborhood, so to speak. And it's a tough one for me to overcome, but the Board of Aldermen has the final say.
Yep.
If you guys don't give your blessing, it's a lot harder, probably. But that's all right. I understand.
Do you have any questions, anybody else? I want to try and make a motion, but I don't know how to do it. What am I allowed to say? I think the last time I confused the BOA, so what I've been told, when we did the whole, I make a motion to deny.
Just keep it simple then.
Can Can I say that?
Commissioner Colum, I didn't hear everything that you said.
Oh, no, I need guidance because I want to make a motion to like not approve. But the last time we did make a motion to deny, I think it got the BOA confused. So I'm trying to say what's
Yeah.
allowed for
So-
me to make the motion.
So I'm not sure what confusion you're referring to, but making a motion to not approve is confusing. right?
Okay, so if I
That's
say
double
make a
negative.
motion
So
to
a motion
deny-
to deny is an affirmative
I see.
motion.
Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna try this again, BOA, but, we'll see how it goes. I make a motion to deny the submitted, proposed, what is this called? PUD, is this the number 5?
003, yeah.
PUD 003.
Yep, that's good.
Thank you.
Second.
Who seconded it? Mr. Cooper? We have a motion by Ms. Cullum, second by Mr. Cooper to deny the TGL2 PUD-1003 for tonight. Any other questions or comments at this time? Roll call vote.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Cullum?
Yes.
Ms. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. And when will that come in front of the board? 16, July 16. Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
At this time, we'll close the meeting and turn it over to Mr. Burks.
We will have 2 items on the agenda for next.
August.
When is the meeting?
It's August 1st.
Okay. I make a motion to close.
Second that.
Motion by Mrs. Cullum, second by Ms. Cooper to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for coming out. Appreciate you guys.